The Allies are preparing for the invasion of Europe. The American 82nd Airborne, with them Bill Tucker, have reached their final staging post in the English Midlands.
We still don't know where we're going. There's all kinds of speculation that it'll be someplace like Norway or Holland. Military police stay with each company at all times, front, side, and back. No personnel on the airdrome is allowed to come within 20 feet of us. I don't understand all this, as none of us knows where we're going as yet.
I didn't have the slightest sense of fear, foreboding, tightened nerves or anything. I just sit and watched everything. And it's hard to explain.
Later that morning, the men of the Canadian Regina Rifles are summoned to a briefing.
At ease, gentlemen.
The weeks of speculation and waiting are finally over.
This is the French coast where we're landing. Names of the rivers and the town are in code. Familiarize yourselves with this detail, gentlemen.
There is no doubt now that Glendickin is going into battle, and that he will be one of the first ashore on D-Day.
The area to the east will receive the second wave of our advance group. Now, this is an area of key importance both to this operation and that of the whole war effort. Any questions? No. Godspeed, gentlemen.
The Canadians have a special reason to dread D-Day. In August 1942, 5,000 men of the 2nd Canadian Division had spearheaded an Allied raid on Dieppe with terrible consequences. Only 2,000 men returned. The rest were killed, captured or wounded within the first few hours. In percentage terms, it was a loss comparable to the first day of the Somme in 1916. A crucial means of reducing casualties is to achieve surprise. If Juan Pujol's messages do not fool the Germans, then the entire military operation that everyone has been working towards will be in jeopardy. The Allies could easily have another Dieppe on their hands.
Tuesday, 30th May 1944. Message sent 19 runways across Drome and hangars east of Ipswich and Norwich Road. Saw 30 liberators and much activity. Message sent 1944 hours GMT. American 8th Air Force personnel and vehicles. Few American 9th Air Force personnel. Shield stop. Some 6th Army men.
There is one thing that could disrupt even the best laid plan. The weather. That evening, it changes. By dusk, the clouds have parted and clear skies have returned. But it is an omen. The British climate, upon which, as much as anything, the success of the invasion depends, is an unpredictable master. For more than a year, the fortunes of war have been shifting in favor of the Allies after the great victories in North Africa and at Stalingrad. In Italy, the British and Americans are getting ever closer to the gates of Rome. German troops are surrendering in their thousands. No word has reached Walter Schwender, the young German soldier stationed in France, of what's happening in Italy, let alone the entire world beyond. This morning, he's just had a swim in the Atlantic.
Dear all, today I received Mama's letter of the 23rd of this month. Many thanks. So the 2 parcels have already arrived. Well, that means the 3rd will also still get there. So it is still cold with you. And here, we don't know what to do anymore because it is so hot. Today, we are in bathing trunks. At the Whitsun, I was too pale, but I will try again. Well, that's all for today. Lots of love. Walter.
Inland from Walterschwende, British secret agents Sonia D'Artois and Sidney Hudson are now based in the grounds of a chateau outside Le Mans. This area of France is particularly dangerous. Hundreds of French partisans have been shot by the Germans. The same fate will await the Allied invasion if there is insufficient support in the French countryside. And yet Sonia D'Artois cannot remain in hiding. She has a job to do, rallying the resistance. Her cover is as a Parisian salesgirl recuperating from bronchitis. The Secret Service is well aware that pretty young women are suited to the world of espionage.
If there's 2 men going or 1 man going somewhere, he'll attract more attention than if he's with a woman or a girl. And she can flutter her eyelashes and give him a smile, and it's normal to see a couple.
Back in Britain, the following morning, it appears everything is in place. The weather seems good, the fleet is ready. As officer in charge of the seaborne invasion, Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay has 6,483 vessels under his command and responsibility for the lives of all who sail in them. He writes home to his wife.
Thursday, June the 1st. Darling Mag, the country is really looking lovely and the garden so gay. It is a tragic situation that this is just the scenery of a stage set for terrible human sacrifices and sufferings. But if out of it all comes peace and happiness, who would have it otherwise?
It will be one of Admiral Ramsay's ships that transports Glenn Dickin across the channel to face the enemy. He, too, writes a letter home.
Dear Mom, I suppose all the spring work will be in full progress by now. I hope you have had the rain you were needing so badly. I guess it would be strange not to have lots of order after the last few years. So you still haven't had the veranda painted. I guess I'll have to get at that as soon as I get home. Well, I better close now. We'll try to be home to help you with your house cleaning next spring, huh?
Erwin Rommel, commander of the forces opposing Glenn Dickin, has requisitioned the ancient Château de la Roche-Guyon, overlooking the River Seine, as his headquarters. Now the pressure is on for him to work out exactly when and where the invasion will come. He believes the Allies will land at high tide, giving the men the shortest possible distance to run ashore under fire. Why would Eisenhower do it any other way?
The only possible chance will be on the beaches. The major moments of weakness will occur during the actual landings and shortly afterwards.
Rommel consults moon and tide tables and sees nothing to convince him the invasion is imminent.
Danke.
But Rommel is wrong. For once, his military logic has let him down. The Allies have deliberately chosen low tide. Although it leaves the invasion force further from the beaches, it reveals all the treacherous underwater obstacles placed in their way by none other than Rommel himself. And there is something else, something to flabbergast the Allied planners should they ever find out. Rommel hopes to make a surprise visit home to Germany for his wife's 50th birthday. The next combination of high tide and full moon is weeks away. Perfect timing to leave his post for a short break to celebrate Lucy's birthday on Tuesday, June the 6th, 1944. In England, everything is ready for D-Day. The troops are poised and armed, the fleet assembled. In utmost secrecy, the location for the invasion has been agreed: the coast of Normandy. But there is a problem: the unpredictable British weather. The heat wave, expected to last a fortnight, is faltering. Low pressure is gathering over the Atlantic. If this pattern moves east, it will coincide with the high pressure still hovering over Britain and the French coast. It will bring storms and a channel too rough to cross. There is no contingency plan to deal with the problem. Now it's all down to one man. The Allied Chief Meteorologist, Group Captain James Stagg, who, with his American colleague Donald Yates, is summoned that afternoon to Supreme Allied Headquarters.
With the difference among the experts unresolved and bearing down as a heavy load on our minds, Yates and I returned that Thursday afternoon to the Advanced Command Headquarters for the final series of briefings. Both of us were too preoccupied with what lay ahead to notice much of what was going on along our route.
Later that afternoon, André Heinz, the French resistance fighter, goes down into his cellar to listen to the BBC, a capital offence in the eyes of the Gestapo. His crystal set is hidden inside a tin of spinach. Despite the poor reception, he is able to tune in secretly to London.
The BBC was a great morale booster, thanks to the news they gave in French. They wrote news that we couldn't read in our newspapers, which were limited to the German communique. But also there was what we call les Français parlent aux Français, that were giving orders, advice, and so on.
André Heinz is waiting for one particular message. The time to fight is coming.
In the evening, listening to the news in French, at last I heard l'heure du combat viendra, which was the sign, meaning that we had to listen in very carefully after that during the following days, because then we would get the orders for sabotage.
André Heinz must tell his network that D-Day is imminent. But if the invasion is stopped by bad weather, the French partisans will be caught in a death trap.
I had to send a postcard from Bayeux, showing the tapestry, one scene of the tapestry, and I had to sign like a visitor, saying bon baiser, signing with the girl's name. And of course, it had been arranged so that they knew that it meant they had to do their best to try and join us here, to be part of the little group of the resistance that wanted to try and do things at the time of the landings.
Half an hour later, Stagg and Yates arrive at the Supreme Allied Headquarters.
Came to command headquarters in time for the long-range development conference at 5:30 p.m. Fairly optimistic, but obviously a very marginal and difficult situation.
The meeting ends with the outcome still undecided. A bad storm could stop the troops from even reaching France, in which case it would be suicidal to proceed. And yet, with everything geared up for the invasion to begin, not to go ahead feels like madness. James Stagg is in a difficult position. Get it sorted out, he has been told by the Americans. General Eisenhower is a very busy man. But as a meteorologist, Stagg can't invent the weather.